Hey guys, Steve here with Legacy Classic Homes, and I'm going to talk about my 5 must-have items in a new home build. These are not amenities. These are not, granite or tile. I'm talking about 5 construction features that I think you need to have in your new home. I'm going to count down these 5 from number 5, which is still great, but the least of the 5 things, to number 1, which is the greatest, the best ever. I think you have to have it. Number 5 is your insulation package, specifically spray foam whole house encapsulation. What this is a situation where we use open cell spray foam that we're not just spraying the exterior walls, but when we get to the top plate, which is where the roof line starts, we also spray the underside of the roof line. It encapsulates the entire house. It also means that your attic is actually insulated. This is different than, at least down here in Texas, growing up through the years, all I ever saw were traditional vented attics where, let's say you're in a 1-story home, you go up into the attic, you look down at the attic floor, and a blown type of insulation is covering the attic floor. Usually that's going to be fiberglass, sometimes it's cellulose, things like that. But what's happening is in that attic, it's a vented attic. So the overhangs have what we call soffit vents in them that pull air through there, pull it up to the top where we have some vents up by the ridge, and it's venting the attic. We're here in Texas though, so if it's 100 degrees outside, one of those vented attics is probably still 120 degrees. They get really hot. So what these foam encapsulated packages do is we now have insulating the entire house, including the attic. On top of that, we actually have on the HVAC system, so the air handlers are hung in the attics, they will have a supply vent on them blowing into the attic. So we are kind of conditioning the attic. It's not meant to be as cool or warm, depending on the season, as it is down in the living space, but we are still putting some conditioning in there, which helps control humidity and just the temperature in the attic. So beyond the fact that these spray foam insulated, encapsulated houses are much more energy efficient due to their air sealing, they also have some really good benefits. 2 huge benefits. You can work up in that attic if you need to, for some reason, let's say in the summer. Again, here in Texas, could be 100 degrees outside. A traditional attic is going to be so hot you don't want to be up there when it's that hot. I've always felt terrible for the air conditioning techs that have to be up there working on systems in the summer in Texas, probably anywhere in the summer, but especially here. So the beauty of the encapsulated attics are they are pretty mild temperatures up there. If you have to go up in the attic in the summer, odds are that attic's going to be 80 degrees or less, so you can be up there doing things. The second feature, or I guess benefit, that comes along with this kind of setup is the attics are, for lack of a better word, clean. When you look down at a conventionally insulated attic, as I said, you've got all that blown fiberglass everywhere. You can't even see the ceiling joist. In other words, the wood pieces that are running across. So probably a lot of us have dealt with this before. You're trying to walk across an attic and you can't actually see where the wood structures are. Many a person has missed and fallen through the sheetrock. So again, the beauty of this is we don't have that blown insulation down on the attic floor. You see everything. You're literally looking at the sheetrock for the ceiling below. You can see all the wires, the pipes, everything. Makes it very easy to get to those mechanical items. If you are somebody who's going to add something later, it's very easy to do that. You aren't digging through a bunch of insulation that isn't great for your lungs or your skin. You've got full view of your attic floor there. So, really starts with the energy efficiency. Second is just the ability to be in an attic that is a relatively mild temperature, even if it's hot outside. And third is just that full view, that unobstructed ability to see all your wires and everything, because we don't have a bunch of blown insulation. So that's number 5, fully encapsulated open cell spray foam. The number 4 item, construction feature in your home that I recommend, is a thermally broken aluminum window. I'm always going to use that term thermally broken in front of the term or the word aluminum now, because aluminum is not that efficient of a material. It conducts pretty well. As a matter of fact, old homes used aluminum wiring, that moved on to copper, but clearly aluminum conducts. So the old style aluminum frames were not very efficient. Matter of fact, they weren't efficient. If it's 95 degrees outside beating on the outside of the window frame, it's going to heat up the inside of the window frame. So from that standpoint, they weren't very efficient. Modern day thermally broken aluminum windows have, as the phrase kind of explains, all these thermal breaks between the outside of the frame and the inside of the frame. It's still a one frame unit. If you picked it up and held it, it feels sturdy, but you've got all these composite pieces in there that prevent that energy from going through from one side to the other. So if it's cold outside or if it's hot outside, that is not coming through to the inside of the frame, making it a much more efficient type of window. They also, from a price point perspective, kind of hit the middle ground. Windows are one of these items, actually probably the item I can think of that you can spend, let's just say, the widest range of money. You could probably have a 3,000 square foot living house that with some vinyl windows, who knows, you might be able to get away with doing them for $15,000, $20,000. You can buy some high-end wood windows, you could spend $100,000 or more. There's such a huge range in window prices. And so everybody's trying to find the best, bang for the buck. The thermally broken aluminum windows are certainly more expensive than things like vinyl and fiberglass windows, but they are not as expensive typically as wood windows, and they have benefits of both. Very energy efficient. Also, because of the rigidness of an aluminum frame, we can get really big window sizes. So going back to that vinyl window, with the frame being somewhat flexible, we are limited on how big the glass can get. You have a certain size window that is as large as you're going to be able to get because that frame can't handle more weight than that. With the the thermally broken aluminum windows, we can get really large pieces of glass. I mean, they do window wall units that are made out of this type of material. So because of the rigidness of the frame, we can get really big windows. We can get all different types of windows, from casement windows, which are the crank open, to single hung, double hung, all this terminology you may not know, but look it up. The different window designs, the way they open. And then one of the best features is, at least with the company I use, we can get any color that we want. So the colors are kind of endless when it comes to window colors. Sure, there's a lot of typical colors people are doing: white, black, tan. But if you want to do something a little different, the sky's the limit. So thermally broken aluminum windows, my number 4 construction feature that's a must-have for you. Okay, now we're on to the number 3 item, and I'm going to get really geeky here because I'm going to talk about a specific type of air conditioning system. The number 3 thing I think you need to put in your home is a variable speed HVAC system. What is this? Well, all it means is that instead of the air conditioning, when it kicks on, running at one speed, full speed, 100%, which is how most of the units we're used to operate, over the years, they've developed the variable speed motors. Now, again, not the least expensive system to do. As you start to get into these variable speed units, they get up into the higher end units. But I think they are an incredible upgrade to pay for, especially if you have a foam insulated house. And the reason is, the one downside of foam insulated houses is that they are so tight, humidity builds up faster than a house that breathes a little more. I mean, honestly, a drafty house at least is changing over air. But because foam insulated homes are so tight, they can build up humidity quicker. So what a variable speed unit does is it can run at different speeds. We use a unit that by Trane that isn't infinitely variable, but it has, I think, 500 or 700 points on it. So essentially it can run very low, it can run wide open, and many points in between. What this means is, let's say it's a moderate day. It's 75 degrees outside. Yeah, there's sun on the home, so the air conditioning is going to run, but a single speed unit's going to kick on, it's going to run for a bit, it's going to reach the set point, it's going to shut off. It's going to do this over and over again. And that term is cycling. So air conditioning units, when they turn on, they use a lot of power. When they're cycling on and off, that's less efficient. It also is not controlling humidity as well because it needs to be running to pull that humidity out of the air. And thirdly, it's just not as comfortable for you, the homeowner. It's kicking on, it's kicking off. So what a variable speed unit does is it can run at lower speeds when it needs to. Again, that 75-degree day, we don't need full blast air conditioning running. What we need in our spray foam encapsulated house is for the unit to run longer. That is actually more efficient. It is pulling more humidity out of the air, and it is a more comfortable environment. So in that 75-degree situation, maybe it's turning on and it's running at 30 or 40%. It's going to run a lot longer, but again, remember, it is not cycling on and off. It's not using the big power surge when it turns on. It's helping control the humidity, and it's keeping your space more comfortable. Now, let's say it's a 90-degree day. It can run faster. It can run to wide open speeds just like a single speed unit does. But the nice thing is it will purposely run longer and slower to help control the environment better. So number 3, I know it's geeky, but a variable speed HVAC system. Talk to your builder about that. Okay, the number 2 construction feature I think you need to put in your house is a tankless water heater. Now, this is funny because for years, I actually recommended tanked water heaters. There were multiple reasons for this. One was another feature I like to run in homes that I may or may not talk about here in the next item, but also they're inexpensive, they're simple. There were some issues with tankless water heaters back in the day with scaling issues, pressure issues if too many taps were turned on, or in the winter when we had a bigger differential. You know, in the winter, your water that comes in, let's say from the city, is much colder than it is in the summer. Well, that hot water heater still needs to get it up to the same temperature. And to do that, if the water's too cold and the differential has to be larger, it slows down the pressure, it slows down the water. So in the early days of the tankless, I saw some issues, but the reality is they've been using these things in parts of Europe for ages. They work great, and with technology, everything has come so far. They are quite a bit more expensive than tanked water heaters, but they've got a lot of benefits. Number 1, they last a lot longer. A tanked water heater may last 10 years. Who knows? You could have a tank that lasts 20 years, but on average, they're a 10 to 12 year type of investment. We've got these tankless now, they're rated at 25 years. On top of that, they are more efficient. They are only heating water when you call for it, when you turn on a tap. A tanked water heater has to constantly keep that water in that 50 or 60 gallon tank hot. And then the big one is an infinite amount of hot water versus a finite amount of hot water in a tank. You know, in a tank, if you've got a 50 gallon hot water tank, it's good for 50 gallons of hot water. May just be a couple of you living in a house, and that is not a problem, but what if the holidays are there and you have people staying over? You could get several people trying to take a shower close to the same time and just run out of hot water. And once you've run out of hot water, you're kind of out of luck until that thing recovers. The beauty of the tankless is if you want to take a 4-hour shower, you can. I don't know why you would want to, but if you did, you can do it. It will make hot water forever. And it's only making that hot water when you call for it. Now, if it's on one side of the home and your shower's on the other, you still have a situation where you have to push out the cold water in the line. It is instant in that it is making it instantly. It doesn't mean it gets to your tap instantly. But for all intents and purposes, they are really worth the investment, not only for their efficiency, but just the fact that you will not run out of hot water. So number 2, tankless hot water heater. Now, what is my number 1 must-have in a new construction home? Well, I'm cheating a little bit because it can now be combined with the number 2 item, but the number 1 item is a whole house recirculating hot water system. What does that mean? Well, I just said it with the number 2 item. We have something called the cold water sandwich. Let's just take a tanked water heater that is in a garage on one side of the home and your primary bathroom is on the other side of the home. When you open a hot water tap over there with a standard system, the hot water leaves the hot water heater. It's hot immediately, but it has to push out all that cold water before it gets over to your bathroom. We've probably all dealt with these situations where you can stand there for a minute or two. Depends on how many gallons per minute the faucet or the tub is running, but it can take a while for that hot water to get there. Well, number one, you're wasting hot water. Number two, you're just standing around waiting for it, which is no fun. So way back in, I think, '05, I built a house for myself and I put in a whole house recirculating pump. And it still, to this day, is my favorite upgrade feature. I don't even know if it's an upgrade now. It's just something when you're a custom builder that we put in all the jobs, which is that whole house recirculating system. We have the plumbers plumb the house for this. They do kind of a loop that keeps the hot water. You have a small pump. This can be done with tanked water heaters, but I'll get to the luxury item here in a second, which is with the tankless. Either way, a small pump is circulating hot water in a line that now is much closer to your tap. So even if that tanked water heater is in the garage, if you've got a whole house recirculating pump, when you turn on that tap in the primary bathroom on the other side of the home, the water is there quick. We're talking 3 to 5 seconds usually. Now, the combination thing that has just blown my mind, and I love that they're doing this, is the tankless hot water companies like Rinnai have now implemented whole house hot water recirculating systems into the tankless units, okay? These things are very smart. They actually are smart systems. They can learn your habits and just know when to run the pump. You also have apps on your phone. So like everything these days, you can get in there, set schedules. You know, if you're somebody who, hey, I'm up at 5 in the morning taking my shower, I want that hot water quick then, but then I'm gone all day. I'm not home and using hot water again until the evening. You can have that pump set to not run during those time periods. And with a tankless hot water heater, if the pump isn't running, then the hot water heater isn't heating any water. So it's super efficient, but it's just also such a luxury item to be able to turn on a tap anywhere in the home and get hot water quick. I think a lot of us have probably dealt with the just waiting around for hot water, and once you've lived a life where you don't have to wait on it anymore, it's fantastic. So the number one, and I'll combine it with number two, must have in a new construction home is a tankless hot water heater with a built-in whole house recirculating pump. Okay guys, I hope this top 5 list of construction features, and remember, these are my opinions. Somebody else may have a different opinion, but I hope these help you out if you're building a home, or even if you're going to remodel or redo a home. These are some really cool things to have in your house. So good luck.